Hey there, good morning, good morning, good morning. The lighting might be really bad here. It's incredibly dark outside. I might be coming off looking very blue. I've got a light on overhead I'm in the studio, obviously, and it's dreadfully dark out. After a very good weekend weather-wise in Salford and Greater Manchester, it's reverted to type today, so it's pretty miserable. It is Monday, by the way, July 1st. Isn't that nice? The 1st of July. It'll only be a couple of more weeks now before the youngsters get their summer holidays. When we went to primary school in Ireland, I went to St Saviour's National School in Ballybeg in Waterford. I distinctly remember us having longer holidays than primary school children have today. I think it's always been about 6 weeks in the UK. The last week in July, all of August, and they've got the first week in September off, about 6 weeks. But I remember us having about 8 to 10 weeks off in Ireland. I know that high school kids get more holidays. It's a really interesting issue, that school holidays. And anyway, I think the amount of time off the children get in schools in general has diminished, hasn't it? It's declined over the years. Anyway, I hope you've had a good weekend. Hi to Pierrot Pepe Vasso. How you doing, Pierrot Pepe Vasso? Good morning. Morning to Kevin Hansen. Should be a phone in every Wednesday, Richie. No. I told you, I explained this the other day, maybe in the near future. At the moment, the programme airs between 5 and 7 UK time. It's not perfect in terms of attracting callers to call in live. When I did phone-ins in the evenings when the programme went out between, first of all, 8 and 10, then the programme changed to 7 till 9. We were inundated with Skype calls and calls. It's a bit more difficult at that time, Kevin. Hi to Paulina in Toronto. How you doing, Paulina? Hi to Joseph in Calgary in Canada as well. How you doing, Joseph? To Kekovich, who's in Australia. To Alex Dunn, who's been in the Sun. Got a career in the rap business. Alex has been getting boiled in the sun. Hi to Dorothy Toto. Israel's Operation First Harvest in the news anywhere? Questions Dorothy. There are a number of websites on, including RT.com, reporting on Israeli military activity, not just in Gaza, but in Syria as well, in Damascus, and the murder of civilians, including a very young child, by the Israelis inside Syria. That's on RT.com this morning. Hi to Danny Warden. How you doing, Danny? Stephen Portsmouth. To Julie Waters, to Josh, to Jason Williamson in Telford. How you doing, Jason? To Mark Perry as well. Sean Mack, Dorothy Toto, I mentioned Dorothy. Jack Woolley, Jennifer Garcia. Good morning, Jennifer. To Natalie Stacey. How you doing, Natalie? And to Chris Brown, to Martin Coombs, to 26, to Kim Wilman. How you doing, Kim? To Millie and to Gina Mills. Happy Monday to you, Gina. Lawrence King. How you doing, Lawrence? Bit of 9 o'clock shadow there, yeah. I get lazy in the summer. I let it grow for 5 or 6 days, then I trim it and then I eventually shave it off. It's the way I am. It's the way I roll. Crack myself up. Hi to Alien Creation. The government want your kids. Well, somebody wants your kids. There's no doubt about that. We might come back to that in a few minutes. Mark Richards, Gary Stewart. How you doing, Gary? I'm well, pal. I hope you're well as well. Hope you're well as well as well as well as well. Hi to Bobby Soxer. How you doing, Bobby Soxer? Morning from Accrington. Who had a Eurovision Song Contest win with the song Bobby Socks? Was it Switzerland? If I'm right, you know I'm gay, right? Look it up immediately on Wikipedia. Do it now, because I don't have time to do it. If the Swiss had a hit with Bobby Socks and it won the Euros, well, I am as gay as Christmas. What a strange time to choose to come out of the closet. Was Bobby Socks a Eurovision Song Contest win for the Swiss, was it? Bobby Socks, I remember it well. William, Glynis is in Vancouver. How you doing, Glynis? Glynis's children are off for 2 months now. And Glynis is properly cheesed off about that. You've got to entertain them now, Glynis. And of course that costs money. What doesn't, eh? Got to entertain them. Natalie says this is like the morning register. It is, it takes up most of the time. But you're such a bunch of whingers that if I didn't mention you, you'd cancel your donations. We have a very tenuous relationship, me and you. Yeah, Stuart Batty. Was it Norwegian, Stuart? Was it Bobby Socks? Thank God for that. Now you know that I'm a straight as well. Johnny Weissmuller. Hi to Synchronicity Man, who says Bobby Socks was the band. Stop screwing with my head now. Stop it now. There was a song called Bobby Socks. The Swiss. No, I'm being told it's the Norwegians by Stuart. Was it the Norwegians? Stephen says, hi Stephen Lash, my friend. In Manchester, I've not heard from you for a while, Stephen. Not since I left Facebook. Top man is Stephen. Bobby Socks was the group. The song was called Let It Swing and Let It Rock and Roll. Good man. Cheers for that. And I to Philip Blair. Before we look into the papers, because it's a Monday, and it's a Monday, you know. I know some of you are watching this at work as well. Because I mention music all the time, and because I mention records all the time, quite a few of you said to me, and if you look back over the previous chats, a number of people have said, oh Richie, tell us what you're listening to, or share some of this vinyl music that you love so much with us and what you're listening to. So I've picked out a few vinyls with a couple of very boring stories that I'll share with you now, and then we'll do the papers. Just because I know you like that sort of stuff. Fair enough. And yeah, I've picked out a few. Now, I could have been a right arsehole, and I could have picked out LPs by the Vinyl Underground, by Dylan, by the Beatles. But I am a lot of things which I freely own up to. A curmudgeonly, grumpy, miserable old bastard. That's what I am. But pretentious, I've never been in my life. So the vinyl I'm going to show you now is what I've been listening to quite a lot for the last 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. That's been on regular rotation. Right? And it's just some good stories. So this is very important to me. This is an album by the Mavericks called In Time. And when Caroline and myself were in Spain, towards the end of our time in Spain there, when things weren't going so well and we were in financial dire straits, one of the things we used to do for the crack was to download the Tonight Show with Jay Leno from the internet, from one of these sites, not Pirate Bay, but one of the sites. We used to download it anyway. And I've always liked Jay Leno. I like those American late evening entertainment programs. Letterman, Leno. Leno was always my favourite. I just liked the way he interviewed people, his warmth and his generosity with his guests. Letterman was edgier. You could argue better, but I liked Jay Leno. And Jay had the Mavericks on one night. And I knew the Mavericks from obviously being a nightclub DJ, Danced the Night Away and stuff like that. But I didn't ever pay too much attention to them. Anyway, they sang on the Leno show. They sang a song called Come Unto Me from this album, 2013 or thereabouts. And I bought the album. Well, I didn't buy it. I streamed it on Spotify for quite a bit and then went and bought it. And then got all the back catalogue stuff and fell in love with the Mavericks. So I love that album. And Raul Malo, the lead singer of the Mavericks, is one of the greatest voices in popular music. So I love that, right? That's the Mavericks, right? This is an artist called Zaz from France. We've been playing this record for years now. It's her first album. I don't know how you describe Zaz. She's kind of a jazzy type solo singer. She's a female vocalist. Plays a lot of up-tempo jazzy stuff. Catchy tunes. Kind of crossover music really. Jazz, pop, and, you know, double bass, trumpets, that sort of stuff. She's French. This is an amazing debut album. Caroline loves it. It was Caroline who discovered her. I love it as well. It's infectious stuff. She's had 3 albums since. They've not kind of hit the heights of this particular album, but Zaz. Again, this is stuff you can, if you subscribe to Spotify or some other streaming service, you can have a listen to this, and I think it'll blow you away, right? Zaz. This is one of the greatest albums of all time. This is Morrissey, Vauxhall and I. See? 94 or thereabouts. Recorded in the summer of 93. This This came hot on the heels of Your Arsenal. Morrissey's apparently a racist now. And I've seen black people on Twitter who usually or previously liked Morrissey, but because of Morrissey recently wearing a For Britain badge, the Anne-Marie Waters political movement or party, Morrissey's been deemed to be racist now. He also said that people they prefer their own kind and all that sort of stuff. Whether or not I agree or disagree with Morrissey's philosophy, I couldn't care less when it comes to his music. The man's a genius. This album, including, it was produced by Steve Lillywhite. Now My Heart Is Full, and Why Don't You Find Out For Yourself are two of the best songs of all time. Brilliant. Morrissey. Is this Born to Be Jesus out of you? Tapestry, Carole King, strange one. Would never have listened to anything like that ever. And when we moved back to the UK from Spain, when I went to work with TPV in London, I was watching, maybe it was the year after that, or the year after that again. I was watching Sky Arts, I think, and they had a concert that Carole King played in New York going way back. Listened to it, thought it was very interesting. I started streaming her music on Spotify again. I'm not advertising for Spotify, by the way. And this is just sensational, this. And she performed this at Hyde Park, didn't she? 2 or 3 summers ago, or maybe 4 summers ago. And what can you say about that? It's wonderful, yeah. My favourite artist of all time, after Bruce Springsteen, maybe. Bob Seger. Again, an unbelievable story. When Caroline had a bar in Spain, I used to work in the bar with her. And a guy called Tony, who was a chef in a restaurant around the corner, used to come into the bar and he used to wax lyrical about Bob Seger, whom I knew from songs like Old Time Rock and Roll and Kathmandu and Running Against the Wind, but I wouldn't have known very much else of Seger. So Tony started making CDs for me, and I fell in love with Bob Seger and fell in love with him. I mean, properly fell in love with him. Began to worship and to idolise the man. Bought all the albums, joined a fan club, everything. And then a terrible thing happened. We moved from London to Manchester so that I could begin doing the Richie Allen radio show here. And it was a very frenetic and kind of a traumatic time. And in the middle of that move, while we were transporting stuff from London to Manchester, unbeknownst to me, Bob played in the Opera House on Oxford Road, and I didn't know anything about it. And when I found out that he'd been there, I went into depression for about 4 months because he's not been well of late. It's unlikely he'll ever tour in Europe again. He's had numerous back surgeries and injuries, and he had a long layoff. He's into his mid-70s now, Bob, and I'll probably never get the chance to see him live. But there he is, Bob Seger. Unbelievable, right? This is just sensational. Again, Caroline used to go on and on and on and on about this woman and the music, and I paid no attention to it. And one night, having a couple of bottles of wine, it was on in the background. Caroline had it on, and I connected with it. And Back to Black Amy Winehouse, and we put it on regularly. It's flawless. There isn't a filler track on the album. It's amazing. I worked with a black dude in Spain. I mentioned it before. Sonny had a big influence on me in terms of my radio career. Brilliant presenter and lovely guy. And he used to talk about Stevie Wonder. And again, I'd be like, yeah, I just called to say I love you, part-time lover, superstition, isn't she lovely, which is on this, by the way. And he went, no, you've got to listen to songs in the key of life. And he used to joke with me, and he used to say that Wesley Snipes line from White Men Can't Jump. He used to say, you can listen to songs in the key of life, but you can never hear it. Anyway, after badgering, I got the CD and listened to it. It's a Stevie Wonder's masterpiece. Just listen to it. If you've never listened to it before, put it on. It's beautiful. It really is. Beautiful is the word. What else can I say? I can't find the words to describe this album. It's transcendental. It was seismic, this, apparently, when it came out in 76. It's wonderful, this. It really is, right. Now, I've got every vinyl Elvis ever released, which is a lie, because he released about 1,000, but I've got quite a lot. This is the vinyl of the Aloha satellite concert, the first ever worldwide satellite broadcast of Elvis in Hawaii. And it's just fantastic. Shall I leave it at that? Couple to go. My favourite album of all time, the Desert Island Disc, Tunnel of Love by the Boss, 1987. What a year that was for albums. You had that, you had the Joshua Tree by U2, and you had Kylie Minogue. You had Kylie by Kylie Minogue. I've said all there is to say about Bruce Springsteen, so that's it. And last but not least, the greatest album of all time is not Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. It's not Sgt. Pepper. It's not Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. The best album of all time is the Muppet Movie original soundtrack recording. Marvellous. Had this delivered the other day, actually. Lovely. Marvellous. There you are. Was that the greatest load of bollocks you're ever subjected to in your entire life? Good. It eases us into Monday. So those are some of the albums. Right, we've collected hundreds of vinyl over the years. We've got everything from Dolly Parton, whom we love, Patsy Cline, to Dylan, obviously, to the Violent Femmes, to Nirvana. We listen to anything, us. And to many great French artists like Serge Gainsbourg and Barbara, or as Caroline says, Barbara. All right. Any comments on that old garbage before we look at the papers? Any comments? No? What about Bobby Socks? Marvellous. Let's have a look. I can't, yeah. Richie is blue like a Smurf, yeah. Very blue. Lovely. Hi to Wide Awake Radio. How you doing, Wide Awake Radio? Sean Mack's kids have been on holiday since Friday. Lovely. Jason Hurley says it's all going to go tits up. Everything is. Hi to Vince in southwest London. How you doing, Vince? Hope all is well with you, mate. Hi to Synchronicity Man in Glasgow, Richie. Bobby Socks was the band. Yeah, I've been rightly corrected there by everybody. Thank you. Lovely stuff. Lovely. I presume you'll be sending me your album recommendations. Lovely stuff. The Exciters, says Alien Creation. Richard says he sold all his Joy Division and Bowie vinyl on eBay and regrets it now. Yeah, well, we all did. I did Graham Booth, the Graham Booth, local celebrity Graham Booth. How you doing, Graham? Triggerwarning.tv. Lovely stuff. French music. Oh, this doesn't sit well with my gammon blood at all. Listen to Zaz. It really is great stuff. Again, when we were in London at TPV, she came to London and did a gig, and Caroline could not get out of a work commitment and was gutted. I didn't go either. Zaz, she's brilliant, Zaz. I love the jazz hop genre, Rich, says Wide Awake Radio. Cheers, mate. Hi to Wendy Bell in Gateshead. How you doing, Wendy? It's blowing a gale up there. It's miserable here. Richard Murray says Billy Bragg was virtue signalling re Morrissey. Of course he is. Of course he was. Because you're not allowed to say what it is you really feel anymore. Yes, you are entitled to think that Morrissey is racist. And you are entitled to say that without being abused for it. But Morrissey is also entitled to say what he feels. And I'm entitled to worship the man's records, particularly the Smiths, and particularly his early solo work to the mid-90s, without being construed as somebody who accepts racism. No! Can we not separate the art from the music? And who said he's racist anyway? Kim Willman says he's hugely pro-Israel even. Yes. There you go. Something I could hardly be accused of, right? And I love Morrissey's music. Vauxhall and I, Viva Hate, Your Arsenal, these are splendid masterpiece records. They really are. Right. I am reviewing the papers, Escape the Asylum. Shut up, I'll do it when I'm ready. Hi to Joe Public. Hi to Tommy Tempo 1. We need to top of the Pops theme, don't we? We do. Look, it's 20 minutes gone already. I haven't done the papers. Hi to Dorothy Toto, who loves the Amy Winehouse album Back to Black. Hi to Liz McFall, Joseph Crow. Right, that's it, I'm stopping. If I didn't mention you, I'm sorry. Hi, Dean Thornby. Let's get into the papers, right? Right. Let me put my bins on. Marvellous. The Telegraph. By the way, get on with the papers, man. By the way, Barry Trower, second part of the Q&A, live on the Richie Allen Show today. Show begins at 5 p.m. Usual channels. Barry Trower. The Daily Telegraph. Hunt. I will turbocharge no deal with £20 billion plan. This is pre-final vote posturing by the two candidates left in the Conservative Party leadership race. I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll boost the economy and all this old crap. It's all garbage, so I'll spare you the detail. Alright? It's in the Telegraph today on the front page. And there's a nice picture of Johnny Bairstow there after his century at Edgbaston yesterday led England to victory over the mighty India. By the way, it was like a home game for India. Did you see that? They're taking over! It's an invasion! Yeah, so India. Let's get rid of that. Enjoyed the cricket yesterday while listening to music. See, there you are again. There's the Times. David Attenborough was at Glastonbury yesterday and he thanked the festival and he thanked the audience for not using plastic. Good. Plastic, the elimination of it, the phasing out of it is a good thing. Do you think anybody understood what David Attenborough was saying there yesterday? Yesterday afternoon, by the time he went on, can you imagine? Oh. Yeah. Thou shalt not tweet in anger, says the Church of England. The Church of England has spoken out about social media today. We'll get into that in a minute, maybe. I've wasted all the time, haven't I? I've just wasted all the time talking about records. What's in the Sun? Strictly Rachel's secret Vegas wedding. Well, actually, she's better known for being the mathematician-matrice, the mathematician on Countdown. What's 40 feet long and smells of wee-wee? The front row at any taping of Countdown. So Rachel Riley, who's a Jewish Zionist and an awful Egypt, an awful pain in the backside, spent a lot of time on Twitter calling people racist and anti-Semitic. She's gotten married, apparently, in Vegas. And there's a nice picture of Kylie, the pop pixie herself, who cried during her set at Glastonbury yesterday. So did I. I cried watching it. It was so fucking bad. But anyway, Kylie cried because, no, she had a good reason for crying. I think she was supposed to do the festival some years ago, but she had breast cancer at the time. So I take it back, Kylie. We love Kylie. That's on the Sun. That is on the Sun. Kylie. What's in the Mirror? End TV scandal now, Mrs. May, said Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister and the former Chancellor. Piss off, Gordon Brown. Do you see this every tabloid lately? Free £1 online bet. Go online and give us all your bank details. Because they won't give you the free bet unless you open an account with them and give them your bank details. So they're liars. It's not really a free bet. There's always a price to pay. What's in The Guardian? The lefty Guardian. David Attenborough is looking out for the people of the future. Is David Attenborough. Businesses going bust is price worth paying for no deal Brexit, says Jeremy Hunt, alleges The Guardian. Don't know if he said that. No idea. Maybe he did. Lovely stuff. There's also a story in The Guardian today about some about complaints made by some of the Queen's tenants The Queen owns about £14 billion worth of land. And apparently some of those who pay her rent, blood, sweat and tears, aren't treated very well by her Madge. You do surprise me. That's in The Guardian. What's in the Financial Times? It might be about Trump and Kim. It is. Trump steps into history after meeting Kim on North Korean soil. He crossed the line, didn't he? The demilitarized zone. He jumped across a couple of steps and he spent a few minutes inside North Korea with Kim Jong-un. Lovely jubbly. The Financial Times. Isn't that lovely? Bringing nations together and all of that. The Express, bit more of Kylie. Act now to halt this senseless bloodshed. That was a fairly horrific story. Anybody getting stabbed is awful. But a mum being stabbed to death while 8 months old pregnant. The emergency caesarean, what was it? Did they do that at the scene and then take the baby to immediately to hospital? And I'm not sure they expect the baby to survive. It's a rotten, rotten story, that. And we get a lot of knife crime reporting in the press and in the papers today. We might get into it sometime on the Richie Allen show. I don't know how to approach that, really. What's behind it? What do you think? What do you think is behind the escalation of young men using knives on one another around London predominantly, but also in other parts of the country? What's behind that? What's in the Mail? Labour tax raid on family homes. Yeah. What's that about? I'll give you a flavour of it, if you want. So John McDonnell did an interview with Sky News Sophie Ridge yesterday. I brought you a little bit of it on the radio show on Sunday View. And what came out of that were these stories. And the Mail is accusing Labour and the Shadow Chancellor of plotting a raid on the middle classes. They're going to reform inheritance tax, apparently. So McDonnell said he was interested in replacing the current levy with something called a lifetime gifts tax. The lifetime gifts tax would be applied to cash or homes given to children. So if you give cash or give a home or homes to your children, there will be a new lifetime gifts tax. And McDonnell said that this plan would ensure that wealth is more fairly distributed across society. Now, the Conservative Party is saying this morning that this is going to affect 10 million households. Right now, the inheritance tax threshold, according to the Mail, and I think it's right, is £475,000 or £950,000 for couples. Meaning at the moment, only 650,000 households end up paying the tax each year. But if a new lifetime gifts tax is introduced by the Labour Party, that would see each child paying tax on everything their parents give them, either during their lives or posthumously, right? And only above £125,000. And that's not good. So once an individual exceeds the threshold, any further gifts would be taxed annually at income tax rates. So that's the Labour Party, which is not and has not been for many decades a socialist party. Because socialism, word which has been robbed, has been hijacked by the progressive lunatics of the new left, social democrats, call themselves socialists. This is not socialism. No socialist government in the world would do that. In the world. It's not what happened in Chile. It is not what happened in Venezuela. So I'm going to leave that because I've ranted on about that before, okay? So that's in the Mail today. Jeremy Corbyn, huh? You all believed him. You all believed him. I didn't. Here's the Star. They're going to bring back the Carry On films. They have a nice picture there of Kenneth Williams, comedy genius Kennedy Williams, actor genius, genius all round. If you want to get a good laugh off of Kenneth Williams, there's a lovely interview on YouTube. Watch it when you're finished with me today. There's a lovely interview with Kenneth Williams and Bernard Manning. If I remember, it was on TVAM many years ago, back in the 1980s. It's a lovely little piece. And I think Nick Owen and Anne Diamond may well have been the interviewers, may well have been the presenters. A lovely little 6-minute segment with Kenneth Williams and Bernard Manning, which is lovely. Kenneth Williams is a proper genius. One of those people I watch his interviews more than the interviews he's done over the years. If the guy was, if you could have a dinner guest from the past, I reckon he'd be high up on a lot of people's wish lists. What a great guy he must have been, Kenneth Williams. I was a star. Bit of Love Island in the Star as well. The iPaper Hunt unveils relief fund for no deal Brexit. Yeah, okay. Get rid of all of those. Finally, the Metro. Again, prayers for baby born to stabbed mum. And there's a picture of the young lady who lost her life. Appeared she had everything going for the woman. Smart. Clever. Good looking. Baby on the way. Horrendous. Knife crime. I don't know. So Glastonbury was on over the weekend. I'm going to channel my inner Amy. See, Amy Winehouse. What am I doing here? Give over, Richie. I'm going to channel my inner Mary Whitehouse. Do you remember Mary? Anybody remember Mary? Anyone? It was the Hawley. Anyone? The Hawley Smoot tariff. Did it work? Anyone? No, it did not work, and it plunged the United States deeper into recession. Anyone? Mary Whitehouse was Britain's moral conscience once upon a time. I think she was a very good woman, this woman. Social liberalism. She saw it as a big threat to society and to the family. That's basically painting in broad strokes and in kind of generalisation who Mary Whitehouse was. But she was very much aware of the problem with moral decay and the decline of morals in our society, and particularly the impact that popular music and popular television was having on people, and used to speak a lot on television from a more conservative point of view. Spiked Online wrote an article about her some years ago saying that we're all Mary Whitehouses now. That maybe we never appreciated Mary Whitehouse when we had her. And I first saw her on television when I was a young boy in the 80s. And it seemed to me that she was always on the TV complaining about something. But I think she was maybe a little bit ahead of her time, maybe. And understood that the sexual revolution. And I don't know. Look, I'm not going to do her any disservice now by trying to describe what it is she was or what she meant. But she was, for a while, she was the country's kind of moral conscience, the gatekeeper of decency, I suppose. Is that fair enough to say? I know a lot of my viewers this morning are English because of the time that I'm doing this absolutely ridiculous live stream that we do every weekday. But there's Mary anyway. Why do we bring up Mary? Because I thought of Mary yesterday. I genuinely did. And I thought, Richie, you're getting old now. Because now, you, Richie Allen, 44 years of age, bald, gammon, you are now saying things and thinking things that you otherwise would never have believed that I would say. The things that we say to ourselves when we are very young that we will never say. We will never tell our children, turn down that fucking music. We'll never do that. We'll never shout at our children, get in off the road. We'll never do that. We'll never nag. And yet we get older and we do all of those things. Miley Cyrus got me thinking about this yesterday. Miley Cyrus. Forget about the occult symbology that you could see on the stage yesterday. Because I didn't know anything about occult symbology until I met Jim Mars and Jordan Maxwell. Later on then, David. I knew David at the same time, but those guys were speaking to my radio audiences about those particular subjects, even though David Icke was obviously interested in those subjects as well, of course. I didn't know anything about it. So plenty of occult symbolism on display, probably across Glastonbury for all I know, but particularly during the Miley Cyrus show. And Miley was simulating sex with her microphone, vaginally and orally, and was also swearing like a sailor. I'm not that much of a hypocrite now that I'm going to criticise the swearing of Miley Cyrus. But the occult symbolism and the simulating sex in a show that went out at a time when children were going to be watching it. She also partially exposed her breast as well. So you kind of miss Mary Whitehouse now, don't you? Because Mary Whitehouse could probably better articulate this than I can. All I can say is Miley Cyrus is an adult and therefore is entitled to perform in the manner that she feels is appropriate to best illustrate those songs. But isn't it maybe a little bit worrying that children are exposed to that? Does that in any way connect to the problem that we have with the over-sexualization of children? Maybe it does, maybe. Maybe I'm not being an idiot here. Maybe I'm not just being an old man saying things that I swore I'd never see before. I think Miley Cyrus got an excellent voice. She was on the Graham Norton show months and months and months ago. And she might have been with Mark Ronson or somebody like that. And she sang and I thought, yeah, she's got a good voice. She won't have it for long. She's destroying it with smoking and drinking, obviously. But grabbing her crotch and licking the microphone. Is there any need for it? Number one, maybe there is. But doesn't the broadcaster have a responsibility to the children watching it? Or am I just being a moron? Shall I go to the comments? Because I might be a moron. God. Annie Moody Blue, says Bruce Blunt. No, I've got plenty of Gilad that song, but I've got no Gilad on vinyl. Got plenty of Gilad saved on my playlists using the aforementioned Spotify. Love Gilad. Genius is the man. Is there anything about Miley Cyrus there? Hi to Susan Hayward Tonkin. Nothing wrong with a marvellous John Denver or Dire Straits tune. Yes, get in there, Susan. Absolutely right. Bit of Glenn Campbell too. Yeah. If you want a good laugh today, after you watch the Kenneth Williams interview, find the scene in The Simpsons where Homer Simpson phones up a facility where Marge, I think, is drying out or she's gone for a rest or something. And they put Homer on hold. And Homer starts singing Wichita Lineman. He says, put me on hold. Nobody puts me on hold. I'll put you on hold. And he starts singing Wichita Lineman. Have you ever seen that? It's one of the funniest clips in the I am the Wichita... What does he say? I am the lineman for the county. There are 3 calls in the queue. And I drive the main road. Yeah. It'll be funnier when you see Homer doing it. Where was I anyway? Jesus Christ. I told you this was rubbish. Rubbish, I told you. And you keep coming back at 9:30 every morning. God, you've had so much chat about music there. I can't even find the Miley Cyrus. Helen Adey says that Mary Whitehouse was her dad's old art teacher. Good stuff. Yeah. And he said she was vile. Fandabby dozy. She had horn-rimmed glasses, says Christopher Hickman. She did indeed. Dorothy says, in reality, Mary Whitehouse is probably into S&M. That was a Metallica album. Before Mary's time. S&M with the orchestra, wasn't it? Yeah. Lovely. 26 says all our culture is manufactured with a desire to change behaviour. Thank you for that, mate. Appreciate that. Massive amount of comments today. Lovely. Steve says, you're an Irish rhinestone cowboy. I am indeed, like a rhinestone cowboy. Right, so nobody cares about Miley Cyrus, so that's okay. I'm wrong then. Like I told you, I'm always wrong. So she can rub the microphone on her crotch, lick it, perform oral sex on it, and that's all right, is it? It is, of course. She is entitled to do what she wants. She's a sentient, sovereign human being. My point is there something else going on, or maybe that even Miley Cyrus is unaware of? That's all I'm asking. All right, chill out. I told you, we just get very conservative the older we get. Except me. Including me. There was Mary. S&M, huh? Why not? Not wrong with a bit of S&M. So what was the church saying about social media? That's the Church of England now. Philistines. Proddies. Proddies. Do you remember Nellie Boswell in Bread? Nellie Boswell. Proddies. Told you all my accents sound the same. All right. Calm down. The Church of England has published social media guidelines to help tackle online abuse and misleading content. The Church of England wants to tackle online abuse and wants to share the good news of Jesus Christ. Have you heard the good news? No, what is it? He is risen. And he is Lord. Every knee shall bow. I did that joke 3 weeks ago. I know. I'll stop it. Justin Welby will urge Christians to sign up to a digital charter to help foster a positive atmosphere online. Yeah. Oh, be Jesus. What's in this? 5 principles of truth, kindness, welcome, inspiration and togetherness. People who post inappropriate, unsuitable or offensive comments on national social media accounts run by the Church of England, the Archbishop and the Archbishop of York may be reported or blocked, says the guidelines. Lovely. So the church is getting involved in social media. Good stuff. Soon there'll be masses on Twitter. I bet you there are masses on Twitter anyway. Are there? Church services on Twitter, on Facebook, there probably are. If there aren't, they've missed the trick. Sky News revealed assault, robbery and blackmail among crimes reported in Parliament. All over Sky News this morning. Crimes reported in Parliament have soared by nearly a half in the last 2 years. And some of those offences are, as mentioned, assault, robbery, blackmail and drug possession. 578 crimes reported on the parliamentary estate between 2016 and 2018. They got these figures from the Freedom of Information request they made to the police, to 5-0. So the crimes included a sharp rise in threatening letters being received and amid fears that MPs are being increasingly targeted due to their beliefs on Brexit. And there were a number of MPs on Sky News this morning mentioning Joe Cox, the Labour MP, battling in Spain, murdered just before the referendum in 2016. She was either murdered on the 16th or the 17th of June, or maybe I'm wrong. The referendum was on the 23rd. So they're saying, MPs, because we're always getting threatened and harassed and called vile names, we need to do something about that. This can't go on. And my belief is this is all coming about because people are getting closer and closer and closer to the truth and to understanding who members of Parliament really are and who they represent, which is not you, not now, not ever. So people are venting their spleen on Twitter and on Facebook. And we've all been kettled now on Twitter and on Facebook. We've all been corralled into the one place. Now it's easier to censor. So MPs are demanding censorship and punishment for people who speak out and call them names and threaten them. Threatening people is foolish. It's ridiculous. It's childish. Doesn't do you any good. But these threats, of course, are 99.9999999% benign. They're from bedroom keyboard warriors I know this. I've had them. I've had the same threats. Okay? So they're using these stories. Oh, more and more poison pen letters being sent to MPs. So rather than examine why it is people are getting angry at MPs, no, let's see what we can do about that. Let's introduce legislation. Draconian, punitive measures against people who get pissed off some night when they've had 5 or 6 fucking vodka and cokes and send a tweet to the morons that inhabit Westminster Palace. They want to criminalise that. It's very dangerous, of course. Implications for free speech are obvious without me labouring them, right? Okay. What else? Here's the agenda. Mobile banking on course to overtake branch visits, you think? Sky again, banking by mobile phone is expected to become more popular than actually going to your bank by 2021. Who says this? The study by data experts Casey says the proportion of customers using apps was expected to draw level with those going to branches. Well, of course, in 2021 there won't be any effing branches. There might be 1 or 2 in city centres, but in neighbourhoods just outside city centres, there won't be any. And the neighbourhoods that are 2 miles from the city centre, they won't have any. Go back 5 miles again, they won't have any. And get into rural areas, they won't have any. They are driving this. This is a huge building block in the foundation of the sick, satanic elite's plan for humanity. Disconnect us from one another. Disconnect us from hard currency, from physical money. Make it more difficult for us to have autonomy when it comes to money and how we spend it and how we store our money. Because they want it to be very easy when the time comes to be able to switch people off. I've said this 1,000 times. Okay? There you go. More on that story there. What else? This is a bit sad, this. I saw this morning. My friend Patricia Brownfiler from Zurich. Good morning, Patricia, if you happen to be watching this. I don't know if you are. Patricia's husband is an engineer. He's a smart man. And he's one of many thousands of engineers, of course, and architects who refused very early on to accept the 9/11 Commission report and its contention that the jet fuel weakened the steel to bring down the buildings. Nonsense. Now. I know there are many of my listeners, and I respect their opinion, who believe that some sort of directed energy weapon was used on the buildings. I don't believe, nor do I disbelieve that. I don't know. I've never seen any proof of it. But I'm an open-minded dude. Yes, everything is possible. Technology held by, some very sinister groups of people, the likes of DARPA and all this. Yes, tech that we wouldn't be aware of. Yes, of course, it's possible. I'm not a betting man, but I would lean towards the placing of explosives in the elevator shafts. But yet I'm not stupid. I know that doesn't entirely account for the concrete turning to dust. You see, so the likes of Judy Wood and these people, I interviewed Judy Wood long before most of you ever even knew who she was. And gave her a fair hearing. But Judy's a diva. What a diva Judy Wood is. Very smart woman now. Very smart woman. Smarter than me, for sure. But a diva. Not very scientific. Which is hard to understand when you think that she's a scientist. But refuses to reevaluate and to constantly look at her own findings. Which scientists should do. But Judy Wood might be right, of course. This is the thing, I've already said that. Bit of a diva. But aren't we all? We can all be a diva, I suppose. Wow, I mean, look. This poor man was appearing a few weeks ago with the comedian Jon Stewart. And he's one of many people who became very ill because of their exposure to God knows what in terms of toxins in the rubble of those buildings, in the dust, and is now he's now died. He was a first responder. There he is, and his name is Luis Alvarez. And the worst of it is, of course, is that they were sent in there by people who knew that their exposure would very likely lead to them developing grave health problems in years to come. That's the tragedy of it. And they've not been taken care of course. They've been ignored. These people who've become very ill. So it wasn't just the people who were killed in the building, or the people on the ground, or the people on the planes. However many people are on the planes, I don't know. I know there are no plane theorists as well. Well aware of it. But they've not been looked after, these people. And that just, leave aside how it happened. Let's just leave that aside for 1 minute. That pinpoints the psychopathy of the system and the establishment. That these guys weren't looked after. And women. And were just left there to get worse and worse and worse. And they were lied to. And it was covered up. And that's what the establishment does. So I saw that this morning. I thought of Patricia because she was tweeting last night. Was our Patricia, about 9/11. There you are. I'm going to read a few comments now. And I'm going to love you and leave you. I wasted most of the paper review with my album review. Alien Creation says steel buildings don't fall by fire. That is right. Gabriel says Building 7. Yes. Building 7, which held files, roomfuls of files about investigations by the SEC, didn't it? Amongst many other things. Building 7 collapsed in a few seconds. The BBC reported on Building 7 collapsing while it was still in shot. Yeah. Steve says, were sonic weapons used in 9/11? Interesting question. Yes, mate. Again, I could never say, oh, that's just... because how do I know? It's very possible. So, there you go. Number of you have mentioned the dancing Israelis. Good. Let's never forget the dancing Israelis. Never forget them. The media pretends they don't exist, or they never existed, of course. But we know. We know. Dorothy says more people have died since 9/11 of the toxic soup than died in the attack. And Norfolk Iceni says fireproof passports. You see, that's what did it for me. I was working for WLRFM in Ireland. I reported live on 9/11, as you know. I've told you before. And when I heard that they had recovered Mohammed Atta's pristine passport, I went, you're shitting me, right? And of course they were shitting me, and they were shitting you. 10:25. Hi to Robert Muldoon. I'm going to love you and leave you. Barry Trower joins the radio show later on for an extended interview and to answer more of your questions about 5G. Have a lovely Monday. richieallen.co.uk, triggerwarning.tv. There is a lot of content on triggerwarning.tv published by Graham Booth and Hayden Hewitt. Check it out. This program, of course, will be on YouTube in a few minutes. It'll be on... The audio will be put on Podomatic a bit later on as well. All righty. We are going to love and leave one another. Bye for now. See you later.